When I say that programming, yeah, the tech industry and the code that we generate in this industry has the capacity to 404 lives, real lives. I mean it. I've proven it before. What you can do, for example, is you can go look at, there's an article that I went over where they studied accidents that have happened in the military as a result of software, a variety of different software issues, including bugs and errors and things like this. I've somewhat equated programming to an atomic, explosion, the nuclear, thing, because in some ways it has the same capacity for being destructive as a nuclear, let's say, a nuclear destruction does. So I don't particularly enjoy reading stuff that talks about the loss of life. The issue is that a lot of these articles and scientific studies look at first order effects. So as an example, if a system goes down, did somebody lose their life as a direct result of that system being down? What it does not, and I'm not even sure that you can account for these things. You can't. It doesn't seem to extend past first order or maybe second order effects. So imagine that you are an individual who got access to one of the pieces of data that we've gone over on these streams, like one of these breaches or something. Or how about this? Imagine that you got access to the Disneyland Paris blueprints. And you're someone who only cares about themselves, or you have some kind of ideological bent that makes you want to use that information in a bad way. And you go ahead and do it. And then people are 404'd. Again, I'm trying really hard to be careful about what I say. Tying that event, that hypothetical event, back to a data breach that could have been avoided if people were better equipped or better able or better trained, or companies spent more time and put more emphasis on quality, performance, and security. Tying that all back to a breach as a result of that, it's difficult. It can be difficult. It's not always difficult, but it can be. Okay. Understanding the synovus ransomware attack. So what happened here? On June 3rd, 2024, Synovus Group LLP, a pathology company jointly owned by King's College Hospital NHS Trust, so this is in the UK, SynLab, and Guy's and St. Thomas NHS Foundation Trust, experienced a severe ransomware attack. Synovus, a key provider of blood test processing services for multiple NHS organizations in southeast London, faced widespread service interruptions due to this incident. The cyber attack made headlines because of its significant impact on critical healthcare services, including, and this is where we start to get into it, this includes the cancellation of operations and appointments, as well as the compromise of patients' personal health information. Not just that, but it also meant that a lot of the operations that this one here, King's College Hospital NHS Trust, a lot of the operations had to be shut down. Like they simply couldn't even do basic operations. And I'm not talking about like surgical operations. I just mean like typical stuff like scheduling and whatnot. So how did this group gain access to the Synovus network? So this is a third-party group that's associated with several other healthcare provider systems. They exploited a vulnerability in systems used by 2 National Health Service trusts in London. However, that's all the details we know. It has not been disclosed how Chillin got into the Synovus infrastructure. That's why I went over this article, because it gives you a little bit of insight into how they've usually exploited services in the past. And it's usually stuff that is easily avoidable. And apparently, from what we do know of the synovus attack, it is no different. Synovus had some outdated systems, and almost all of their IT systems were affected. And because of their outdated systems, and because of the fact that they weren't keeping up to date with basic security configurations, that much we do know, they were able to be exploited by this Chilin ransomware group. There were nearly 400 gigabytes of private information acquired. The information retrieved is not quite Krispy Kreme levels. If you were here yesterday, we now have the Krispy Kreme rubric of information leaked. But blood tests, patient names, dates of birth, and NHS numbers. The cyber attack disrupted over 3,000 GP appointments and more than 800 planned operations. Critical services, including cancer treatments and organ transplants, were also affected. Furthermore, according to Casey, who is the researcher who kind of went into this, the data published by the Chilin Group also included business account spreadsheets containing financial arrangements between Synovus, GP services, and other hospitals. Now, what did this lead to? What do you think about that? 3,000 general practitioner appointments and 800 planned operations, including cancer treatments and organ transplants. It has now been admitted. There is now an admission and an apology issued by the King's College Hospital NHS Trust. Because as a result of this outage, someone lost their life. And so they had to look into what exactly happened, how it happened, and issue an apology. So this is one more item, I guess, to put in the stack of items that prove that this stuff has an impact on people's lives. Chilin ransomware attack on NHS supplier contributed to patient fatality. Pathology outage caused by synovus breach linked to harm across dozens of healthcare facilities. One patient sadly died unexpectedly during the cyber attack. As is standard practice when this happens, we undertook a detailed review of their care. The patient safety incident investigation identified a number of contributing factors that led to the patient's death. This included a long wait for a blood test result due to the cyber attack impacting pathology services at the time. We have met with the patient's family and shared the findings of the safety investigation with them. News of the patient's death broke yesterday and follows figures from the South East London Integrated Care Board last week, revealing that 170 patients suffered harm as a result of the ransomware attack, although most were categorized as low harm. And this is usually what happens. These are usually low harm first or maybe second order effects, depends on your definition of these kinds of attacks. However, in this case, there was no higher amount of harm than someone losing their life, in no small part due to the fact that they couldn't even get a blood test done in time. Now, this article does a good job of talking more about the stuff that I point out. According to an analysis by cybersecurity experts at the Royal United Services Institute, the majority of other potential links between ransomware attacks and deaths have been contentious. One of the more talked about cases came in 2020 when a doppelganger attack on a hospital in Dusseldorf prompted a negligent homicide investigation in what was then a world-first ransomware death case. A 78-year-old woman died of an aortic aneurysm after having to travel to a more distant hospital when the one closest to her, Dusseldorf, I don't think I'm pronouncing that right, University Clinic, was managing an attack. That's someone's mom, grandmother, sister, etc. And they lost their life because critical services were shut down as a result of the choices that we seem to be making in the tech industry, where we prioritize money instead of people's livelihoods. The hour-long delay to her critical treatment due to the diversion was suspected to have caused her death, although prosecutors concluded there were insufficient grounds to charge the clinic over the incident. Although my claim would be that it doesn't necessarily have to be the fault of the clinic. It's a general fault. Clinics, hospitals, companies, etc., all make very similar decisions to each other because they all make very similar decisions to each other. It's a bad feedback cycle. One 2023 paper by researchers at the University of Minnesota's School of Public Health claimed from 2016 to 2021, between 42 and 67 U.S. Medicare patients may have died as a result of ransomware. How many is too many? That's a span of 5 years. And you have somewhere between 42 and 67 patients potentially losing their lives because of ransomware. The findings have not been published by a peer-reviewed journal, fair, and others question the statistical significance of the data that informed the conclusions. Also fair, but let's say it's one. A cyber attack on Wirral University Teaching Hospital's NHS Trust in northwest England led to cancer care targets being missed across several facilities it oversees. Days after the hit on WUTH, the cancer care facilities, INC Ransom, a ransomware group, claimed responsibility for an attack on Alder Hey, one of England's top children's hospitals. Chillen continues to attack all kinds of organizations, including those in the healthcare space. In March, it claimed responsibility for attacks on a cancer clinic in Japan and a women's healthcare facility in the US, cementing its no-regrets attitude to targeting critical services. This is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. This kind of stuff has real-world impact on real people's lives. It's an unavoidable, software has this capability, and you might be able to excuse that away by doing things like, well, I just npm installed a bunch of libraries, it's not my fault, or we handed authority processes to third-party services, so it's not our fault. And I think this is one of the reasons why third-party libraries, frameworks, abstractions, companies, in the tech industry in particular, are popular. Because people don't want to be responsible. Somehow, deep down inside, they know that these things have very dramatic impacts. A seemingly innocuous website can leak all kinds of data that could lead to someone's life being 404'd. They don't want to be responsible for that. So they would rather sign an agreement where another party is responsible for it. So that if it happens, they can always point to the other party. They can always point to the other library or framework that fails them. And I think programmers do this too, not just executives and managers at the top of corporations, but programmers also like to do this. They also like to hand over their responsibilities to third parties, because if something has a bug or a feature is broken or whatever, they can just point to the third party thing, the library abstraction framework tool that they pulled in to accomplish anything, and they can say, well, wasn't me. Unfortunately, you don't get to escape the fact that there is culpability by anyone who makes decisions like this. And as a result, services go down, critical services go down, or information is leaked that could have been easily not leaked. And the tech industry has set themselves up for this to happen over and over again. And they continue to do this to this day. These kinds of scenarios are going to continue to happen. And it is my belief that the reported numbers of people who have suffered and lost their lives as a result of these decisions is vastly underreported. I don't even think we know how to begin to look at that. This is like nuclear level destruction stuff that we have the capability of exerting in the tech industry. And we don't care enough because sweet venture capitalist AI money. And it's going to be someone else's problem in 6 months when you get that sweet venture capitalist exit and you get to walk away. Or you have the golden handcuffs and you're just hanging around waiting for those golden handcuffs to pay out, and then you walk away and then it becomes someone else's problem. It's always someone else's problem. It's never yours. And that's why easy buttons in this industry are so appealing, because they just attach themselves to that emotion. It does not have to be my problem. It can be someone else's problem. Let me pull in an abstraction framework, library, third-party service, whatever it is, so I don't have to deal with it. And then customers are frustrated. Customers have to pay for crappier, buggier code. Ideology gets infected with all of these kinds of things because it's feelings first. You get crappier video games. You get crappier software. You get crappier websites. And then you get, at the worst end of it, people losing their lives, literally, because they cannot get a blood test or they cannot go to a hospital in time because it is shut down because of simple things like this.